right now, we're going to be joined by the Dr. Michael Rydelnik. Hello, Dr. Rydelnik.
The Dr. Michael Rydelnik.
Capital
Dr. Michael Rydelnik.
T-H-E.
There's so many of them.
Yes.
The only one. There we go. How are you guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Great, thanks.
We're surviving without Brian, but we're doing okay.
I thought it'd be pretty easy to survive without Brian. It's just
Big shoes to fill.
Oh yeah.
Clown shoes.
There we go.
Boom. That's right. If you have questions for Dr. Rydelnik, feel free to text or call. We love calls too. I'm getting lots of text, but call us too. 440-546-2255. All right, Dr. Rydelnik, you ready?
I am so ready.
Okay. Was Jesus anointed twice? It seems that there was an anointing at Lazarus's house and at Simon's.
Yeah, some people want to say it's the same event, remembered at different times. I think that there were two separate events, one early in his ministry and one later in his ministry. I think that there are two separate events, one in Luke, one in John. That's what I think.
Okay. This weekend we went to the Natural History Museum in Cleveland, and they have a bunch of fossils, remains of dinosaurs, and then they had this one creature called Lucy that's an ape-like creature that walked on two legs. They're saying that this is the next step up from evolution of apes. How do you explain science that is showing actual bones that have been dug up?
Well, I don't know if Lucy really, this is so conjectural to say. No scientist will tell you that there's ever been, no missing link has ever actually been found. That's just pure conjecture of like things like Lucy. In terms of dinosaur bones and things like that, I actually think there's an explanation. Of course, I think that some of the age of the earth is seen because God created the world with apparent age. That doesn't apply to dinosaur bones, but with apparent age is one of the things. Like when Adam was created, he didn't look like an infant. He was created like a fully adult male. And so I would say the whole world, when God made it, including the light from the stars, because it takes light years for that light to pass. So God included that and created the light that was passing from those stars onto the earth. So that's one thing. But in terms of fossils, I think that most of the fossils can be explained, or virtually all the fossils can be explained by catastrophe. That when there is a major catastrophe on the earth, that things fossilize very quickly. So, for example, when Mount St. Helens blew in 1980, the top of it went off. The trees all landed in Spirit Lake below. They were covered with lava and ash. And the roots of those trees, that forest that blew into the water, that exploded into the water, those roots carried more water, absorbed more water than the rest. So they began to sink, and they sank with the trees' roots at the bottom. And so now, if you look at the bottom of Spirit Lake, it looks like there's a forest underneath, and the trees are upright. They're not laying side by side. They're upright because the roots were heavier, and so they sunk to the bottom of the lake with the roots down. Also, because they were covered with lava and went into the cold water, they fossilized. And so it looks like there's an ancient forest under Spirit Lake. And if I did not know this was Mount St. Helens, I would say, not that this happened 64 years ago, but, millions and millions of years ago, there was a lake here. But and really what catastrophe did was create that fossilized forest underneath Spirit Lake. My point is this, that there was a massive, huge catastrophe back in the book of Genesis. We call it Noah's flood, right? And I believe Noah's flood caused a lot of those, because of that catastrophe. It says that the fountains of the deep opened. I don't think it was just a lot of rain. There was earthquakes. There were volcanoes erupting. All that happened at Noah's flood. And the result of the flood was things like the Grand Canyon that look older, and also all the fossilized remains that we have.
Okay. So if someone were to come with us, maybe who believes in evolution, we can talk about how the flood had a huge impact on all of those things that we're seeing.
Yeah, all the evidence that we're seeing. I have a friend that took a trip down the Grand Canyon, a river trip, he teaches at Moody Bible Institute, and said that the most remarkable explanations, it was, I can't remember which organization sponsored it, but this professor said that there's legitimate, viable explanations for all the fossilized remains along that path, and it's because of catastrophe. And so I don't, I wasn't there. I don't want to minimize it, but I don't think that the fossilized remains argue against the biblical narrative. I think they can fit with it.
And isn't it, there's a lot of other historical documents that talk about the flood as well, right? It's not just the Bible.
Yeah, that's the thing. Of course, there were a whole lot of the Gilgamesh epic, Sumerian flood narratives, things like that. They don't say the same thing, but there is a worldwide flood, a universal flood. And the same thing, when the Native Americans here, the indigenous peoples of America, also have a legend of a flood. So a lot of people say, well, it's just a common legend. But the fact that so many varying cultures have had it tells me that there is something that happened. Now people say, well, the Bible is just one of those legends. I don't think so. I think the Bible tells us the truth of what happened, and there are, of course, many different things that were written down or passed on orally that confirm. But they vary from tale to tale. But they all have that root message that the Bible has, that there was a universal flood.
All right, next question. Where did the other people come from after Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel?
Brooklyn. No, where did they come from? I think that Adam and Eve had other children. That seems like what's going on. Remember how long people were living?
Yeah.
I believe they had a longer period of fertility and ability to birth, which is one of the reasons for the early peoples having such long lives. And it seems to me that Cain got a wife. That was probably one of his siblings. Cain was afraid that someone, when he was wandering the earth, someone would kill him. That was probably one of his siblings that he was afraid of. That's what I would say.
Yikes.
Well, think about it. He's the first person born.
Yeah.
And he murders his brother.
Yeah.
And so think about what his siblings thought. They thought, well, we've got to pay him back. So that's what he was afraid of, and God gave him the mark of Cain to protect him from that. But he didn't. It's not like he repented. He was told to wander the earth, and he went and built a city and didn't wander.
Yeah.
So he's
Rebellious.
he was a rebellious guy.
I was wondering where the people of Israel got identified as Jewish.
Oh man, well, it seems to me like when they're coming out of Egypt, when my people, we were coming out of Egypt, and we said, "Why did you bring us here, Moses?" First of all, we're complaining. That's the story of my life. And then the second thing is, they say we want to go back to Egypt with the garlics and the leeks and the onions. They're looking for the Hebrew national delis, apparently, back in Egypt. No, now here's the thing. Israel is the 12 tribes of Israel. They were called the 12 tribes of Israel. And that's where we come from. And then, of course, they split into Judah and Israel. So the two names that we have for the Jewish people initially are Hebrews. That's because of the language that we spoke. And then secondly, we've got Judah and Israel after the 12 tribes split with Rehoboam. Remember that story? Solomon's son. So you've got the northern kingdom of Israel, which is what the nation had been called, and you've got the two southern tribes of Judah and Benjamin, and that was called Judah. And then the northern tribes went into captivity, and then the people of Judah later on went into captivity, reunited with those people who were taken back to the northeast by Assyria. Now Babylon brings them back, but because the arrival of people from Judah, guess what they were called? Jews. That's where the name comes from. But it's the same people that were Hebrews, that were Israelites, that were Judeans. They were called Jews. That's right. And I think it was really the first to do it. Those people in the East, I think it was the Romans that called them Jews first.
Okay.
Or no, actually, I'm wrong. When I think about it, Nehemiah, the Babylonians called them Jews. The name is found in Esther and in so the Persians did, and I think probably Persian era is where we see it, the name first.
The way you can just go do that in your brain is so wild to me.
Back in the 70s, right, when I went to high school, I wore boots and jeans and a flannel shirt every day. And I remember when I got accepted to Moody Bible Institute, my guidance counselor said, "Moody Bible? Are you kidding me?" And then he says, "I thought you were going to be a lumberjack."
Oh, did he really say that?
Wow.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Ron,
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you this. I am never going to tell you anything again.
Right?
I'm just
He's so
done.
savage.
I'm done.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, but
I'm
it'll
done with
slip out
telling
at
you
some
these
point.
stories.
You have to keep it close if you have anything special.
Brian's name is on
yeah.
the show, but Ron holds the power.
That's why I won't
Yeah,
sing
he
on
puts
here.
those. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. He'll record it and promote it. That's terrible. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
At
Like
least
anyone cares about that story. I am so sorry I said that.
I mean, I also wore jeans, a flannel shirt, and boots in high school. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me
Did you?
too.
Okay.
oh yeah, it came back
Yeah,
around.
That's it. Yep. There we go.
All right, next question. On the third.
Wait.
Oh yes, go ahead.
Lee jeans, not Levi's. Lee jeans.
Lee
Those-
jeans.
Ooh.
That was the only acceptable.
Were they better?
When at least to me, I don't know. I was very, very committed to Lee jeans when I was in high school. Have no idea why, but that's it.
Are you still
So-
committed to Lee jeans?
No, I'm a older man. Jeans are just they don't fit. So,
Jeans are not
Jerry's-
comfortable.
Yeah, they're not for me. So
No. Ron
anyway.
wears jeans at home, so
I love jeans. I don't understand people that are like, oh, they're not comfortable.
no.
Jerry Seinfeld did this whole bit about how when you reach a certain age as a man, jeans just don't work anymore, and he's right. That's it. So
They're just not. Yeah. They don't
Yeah,
have any
the-
room,
the-
any movement.
the body shape changes. We can't do it. Yeah.
Oh well,
Wow.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So we're here with Dr. Mike Rydelnik. Get your questions in now by text or phone call. We love a phone call, so call us at 440-546-2255. On the third day after Christ's crucifixion, the women went to the tomb to clean his body. How are they going to get into the tomb with a stone in front and the guards to keep people out?
I don't know. Maybe they would have asked the guards.
Hey, can you let us in?
Yeah. Can you help us with this? Because it's a rollaway stone. They would need help. And maybe they would have gotten help from the guards. I don't know.
Yeah, it is an interesting question.
Yeah.
When someone asked, it's not about, this question is not about the age of the earth, but do you think that there were dinosaurs since we found those types of fossils?
Oh, yeah, I think they were dinosaurs. I think what most people don't realize about dinosaurs is, I have an oversized Sheltie. Shelties are about 30 pounds, and mine is about 45 pounds. He's just big. He's like a small collie. I would think, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a geologist. He was a geologist. Now he's a pastor. And he said the average, I don't know this, he's the scientist. I am not. But he said the average dinosaur was about the size of my dog. That's, we think they're all like Lucy. Is that the name of I know, not Lucy. I
Sue.
don't remember her name. Sue,
Thanks,
here in
Soria.
Sue at the Field Museum, right?
Uh-huh.
He said no. They were really small animals. They weren't this
Ooh.
massive thing that
I
we
don't like
see all
that.
the time.
That's worse to me.
So- Yeah.
Because then they
Little
can
ankle biters.
Yeah, they can terrorize you.
No, they weren't like that. They were herbivores, and they weren't going to terrorize you.
So it's
So
not
they were
Jurassic
like,
Park.
Just think Flintstones, Dino. That's what you
Oh,
got.
yeah.
a little pet.
I like Dino.
I
Yeah.
guess I could go for that.
Yeah.
Someone said, I read a daily devotional this week where Dr. Rydelnik's family story was shared. The devotional ends with this statement and then asking if you can share the story. It says, their son, Michael Rydelnik, was embarrassed that his nice Jewish mother was a believer in Christian Messiah. Michael became determined to prove to his mother wrong and redeem her for the Jewish faith. Things did not work out for the teenage boy, however. Do you know what this is from?
Well, no, I don't. I have no idea who published that.
Oh, great.
It's not the Moody Day in the Word. I'll tell you
No.
that. No. They want to know more of that story.
Yes.
Well, I got really angry at my mom when she came out as a believer. I thought she had betrayed her people.
Mm.
I thought that she had broken up her family because my dad divorced her over it.
Mhm.
I thought that she had lost her mind. Uh, and she had all these other middle-aged Jewish women that were also followers of Jesus, and they were always trying to talk to me, and I'd get really angry and argue with them. They'd be at my house, and they would say, "What about this verse?" And I just wanted to go play basketball and leave me alone. But I would argue with them, and I would argue quite a bit. And then I thought the key to the whole thing was to go. They had a Bible teacher, this older woman who had been a Jewish follower of Jesus, who had been teaching Jewish people the Bible for about 40 years, 35 years at that time. And she served with, today I know it's known as Chosen People Ministries, and she was the Brooklyn director for their branch in Coney Island. And I went to high school in Coney Island. I went and met with her to tell her to leave my mom alone. I thought I blamed her. And she challenged me to talk about what the Bible says about the Messiah. And I thought, this is a great idea. I'm going to prove to this woman that she's wrong and my mom will leave this foolishness. And then we spent several weeks meeting and talking about the prophets, what the prophet said about the Messiah. And now what I did was I argued with a book I had that was sort of anti-Christian. And I felt very confident when I was arguing with her, but when I would come home, I would think about it. And I think, her answers make more sense than mine. It really bothered me. So that's sort of the next part of the story. And then ultimately she challenged me to pray, and I offered the single worst prayer in the history of humanity. It was something like, God, I know Jesus isn't the Messiah, but if he is, and I know he isn't, will you show me? I know you won't, because he isn't. Amen. And the day I came to faith, I would say I was the least likely person ever to believe, and no one would have ever thought I would believe that day. I was really angry at my mom, angry at all these Jewish believers I was meeting, and my mom invited me to a film at the branch. It was a congregation that met on the weekend at the Chosen People building. And she invited me, and I thought, I'm never going there. I told her many times I would never go there. And she said, just come once. She was making it like broccoli or Brussels sprouts, taste it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to go again. And I said, no, I'm not going. And she said, it's going to be a film about Israel. And I thought, well, if it's about Israel, what couldn't possibly be about Jesus? So this is a good one for me to go to, and then I'll never go again. So I went, and the film was called His Land, and it was produced by Billy Graham, someone who I had never heard of. And I knew the name, but I didn't know who he was or anything like that. And then the film was His Land. It had Cliff Barrows and Cliff Richard in it, and it talked about how the prophets foretold the restoration of the Jewish people to Israel. I agreed with that. And then it talked about how the same prophets foretold the coming of the Messiah and how Jesus had fulfilled those prophecies. I thought, I don't agree with that. And I thought, what a hypocrite I'm being. The parts of the prophets that I liked, I accepted. The parts I didn't like, I didn't. And then I thought, if I were a really good Jew, I would believe in the promised Messiah, even if I was the only one. And then there was an invitation given. I thought, I will never raise my hand in front of all these people. I was in the back row anyway, but there were 200 people there, and I'm not going to raise my hand. And so I was sitting there watching the film, after the film, watching this guy talk about it's just going to be you, me, and God, and I was shocked to see my hand go up. And I thought, as I put my hand up, I said, I will never, ever tell a soul. And the man said, who was giving this invitation, which I had never heard of an invitation before, he said, I see that hand, and my mom's friend thought it was her son's friend who had come to that meeting that day. And so she peeked under her arm to see who it was, and she gasped in front of the whole group, it's Michael. And so I was totally busted, even though I never intended ever to tell anyone that I had raised my hand. So that's the end of the story.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing with us. That's a great story.
Kind of I just can't believe it when I look back. It's 52 years this April.
Wow.
April 16th, 1972. And I am amazed. I've made 2 spontaneous decisions in my life. Just that moment when I raised my hand. Of course, I really believe in the effectual call of God. So that was a great decision to trust in Jesus. I mean, I had no idea even the full ramifications of what I was doing, but it was a great decision.
Yeah.
And the second was a few years later. I just talking to this girl on the phone, and I said, "Hey, I think you should marry me."
And what'd she say?
And she said, "We should talk about this in person."
She said, "You know what?
Yeah, but then Eva looked me right in the eye, and she said, "Do you love me?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I love you too. I'll marry you."
Oh, Eva's the
Aw.
best.
Yeah, and we got married 2 months later.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. What a
Yep.
story.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So 2 spontaneous decisions, 2 best decisions I ever made.
That's right.
Aw.
All right, I think we have time for probably 2 more questions. What do you think?
And Ron, please don't ever use that in a.
He's already
audio.
clipped it. Look at him.
Please,
He's pushing buttons over there.
please, please, please.
Okay, I promise.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
I'm recording that, Ron. All right. What does it say in the Bible? Or while it does say in the Bible that being baptized, if you're a follower of Jesus, is important, do you have to be baptized in order to be saved? Or can you still be truly saved and secured into the kingdom of heaven before being baptized?
Baptism is the outward sign of an inward reality. All we need is the inward reality. The Bible says in Ephesians 2:8-9 that we're saved by grace through faith, not of works, lest any person should boast. Don't ever think that there's anything we need to do. Just remember what the Lord Jesus said to the man who said to him, "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom." He didn't say, "We got to get you down from this cross and get you baptized." He said, "This day you'll be together with me in paradise." And so I can't. Now, there's some verses that people take, and I think some of the best ways to take it is that baptism was such an initiatory rite. There was no conception after a person believed. There was no conception that anyone would be. There was no such conception of an unbaptized believer. You just did it right at the outset. But it wasn't the act that saved a person. It was the outward symbol of being saved that baptism is. But so because it was so initiatory, like in Romans 6, it's associated with being a believer. You know, because it happened. People, just like the example would be the Ethiopian official in Acts 8. As soon as he believes, what's he say to Philip? He says, "What keeps me from being baptized?" And they get down into the water. They get out of the chariot into the water, and he's baptized. So there's like this immediate response back then to be baptized.
Yeah, so you just did it right away instead of waiting for your church's next service of baptism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, one question before we go. What is
Okay.
the mark of Cain?
I don't know. It was some symbol or mark that God put on him. It was not a tattoo, which I've heard some people say. It was just a mark that was identifiable that he was not. Maybe it was even I just don't know. I don't know what it is. I think there's no way we can know what it was.
Yeah.
So-
And what was it to show to other people?
Well, it was what Cain said is, "I'm going to go out and wander the earth, and people will see me. Everyone that sees me will want to kill me." And so God gave him a mark to protect him, to preserve him, that he was not to be killed, and that's what the mark of Cain was. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for being with us again this week. We will talk to you next week.